Helps if you open up the lid. Ah, man down. It's good for me. I'm not eating that stuff ever again. Hi y'all, welcome back to Julie's Beautiful Life. I've got my cup of coffee. Let's just chat a little bit about some real stuff. I have recently had a subscriber ask for a life lesson. I think we can do a little bit about that. So today, one of the things I wanted to talk about was depression. Because it creates such feelings of humiliation, people do not talk about it, and it's really important for people out there that have this disorder to hear from other people that have this disorder but are living a semi-functional life. That's the only way I know how to put it. Is my life perfect? No. Is anybody's? No. We all have our ups and downs, and we all have our crosses to bear. This is one of mine. If something that I'm experiencing can help someone else at an earlier age, that would be the greatest thing in the world to me. I'm 55, and it's taken me an awful lot of years to kind of, just to admit that I have it, just to admit that I've been through this, that I'm going through this. There's going to come a day where I'm going to have another deep depression, and I'm trying to learn from each one, trying to learn how to best navigate that. I'm hoping, my prayer is that I may be able to help someone else. I may be able to help someone else's family. Maybe someone will watch this and realize that their sister, their daughter, their son, their brother, their nephew isn't being dramatic, isn't being lazy, but has a problem, a really serious problem. This last month has been a little rough for me. I've told you I have severe clinical depression. I work very hard to kind of stay above the fray. When I fall into a period of depression, I spiral down and I land in a pit so deep, and all I want to do is curl up in the fetal position and hide. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anything. I don't care what is going on. I don't care about myself. I don't brush my teeth. I don't wash my hair. I don't take a shower. And I am not proud of that. It is something that is not within my control. When I am in the pit of despair, is what I call it, or deep in the cave, that's another way I refer to it. Nobody can reach me. It's not a conscious decision to be in that state of mind. I've been learning through mindfulness, which we maybe should talk about another time. Mindfulness is a form of medication. Okay, mindfulness is a form of meditation. I have been learning to observe the depression rather than judge it, rather than try to cure it. I've been learning to kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and observe it, feel it, and pay attention to it. Through that practice, I have learned some things, and they're not necessarily easy to share. Depression is real. There are different types of depression. There is situational depression. You have a death in the family. You lose your job. You find out you're sick. These are situations that can cause you to be depressed. Then there is clinical depression, which is, it's in the mind. The medical community still doesn't really understand a whole lot of it. Some recent scientific research is pointing to its origin being in the gut. I think we don't know a whole lot about it. I can tell you what it's like from the perspective of a person who is depressed. One of my experiences that has been very, very difficult for me is when people that you know and you love, and that even family kind of blows you off and, oh, it's just Julie being dramatic. No, it's not someone being dramatic. And if someone around you is telling you they're depressed, telling you they're not handling life very well. You need to pay attention to that. I went through many years of being so deep in the pit that I could not function. And my family thinking I was lazy, thinking that I was being over dramatic, when there was nothing I could do. I just could not function. I was paralyzed. In the brain, I was paralyzed. For those around you who supposedly know you the best and who are supposedly, loving you, to dismiss this enormous black hole is devastating and it's dangerous. When someone commits suicide, everyone wrings their hands and says, I can't believe it. Why? He or she had so much going for them. I want you to understand what goes on in your head when you're suicidal, because it's not logical, it's not rational, it is an illness. I've often heard it's very selfish. When someone is suicidal, they are not in their right state of mind. If this has happened to someone you love and has hurt you, I hope you will at some point find the peace and understanding that this is a sickness. It's not something that they set out to do to you. When I was in a very deep depression, I wasn't working, I wasn't showering, I wasn't doing anything. The more that those I loved blew it off, ignored it, pretended it wasn't happening, the worse it was for me. The more I thought about, I don't really want to be here anymore. And not only that, there was an element of vengeance, because those people who were blowing me off and hurting me in the process, I wanted to hurt them back. And I thought, oh, when I'm gone, so-and-so is going to feel so bad, it's going to eat at them and they're going to feel so guilty. Again, I'm not proud of this. The fact of the matter is, anyone who is intentionally hurting you probably isn't going to care. I went for a long period of time where I really thought that the best thing I could do for my kids would be to get out of their life, get off of this planet. When I am not in a depressed state, I can see that would be horrible for my kids to have to go through. And I actually had a psychiatrist once say, there's one thing that no child will ever completely recover from, and that is the suicide of a parent. I keep it front and center at all times. Sometimes that's the only thing between me and certain death. It's hard to admit that you've been having these horrible, dark thoughts going through your head, and it's taken me several years of being out of that to be able to talk about it. And I want to welcome you to ask questions in the comment section. If there's something you think I might be able to shed light on for you, for someone in your life that might be suffering with this. And it is suffering. It is deeply painful, scarring. It is a horrendous experience. I'm sure I haven't seen the last of it. So, some of the things that I've been doing to try to alleviate this intense pain that comes periodically. And this last month has been rather difficult for me. There's been some things going on that have put a significant strain on me, and I could feel myself spiraling, and I'm trying desperately just to beat this time, see if I can keep myself from ending up in the pit. How much control can I exercise? I've written some things down. I just wanted to talk about how I've been dealing with it, and maybe something that you can do in your depression if you have this, or even in a situational depression. There's a couple things I keep in mind. Is there anything I can do to change the situation that has me so rattled? Because there's always a trigger. There's always something that sends you hurtling downward. In my case, it's just a situation, it's happening, and I cannot change it. There's absolutely nothing I can do. So, knowing you can't change anyone else's behavior is kind of the first step in removing yourself from it. Understanding that there's nothing I can do to change this. The only thing you can do is change your reaction to it. The only thing I can do right now in terms of this situation is to pray. So I do that. When I'm feeling especially down, I'm really holding on by my fingertips, I hit my knees and I start praying. For a lot of years, I would have rolled my eyes and said, oh, whatever, praying doesn't do anything. What praying does for me is it gives me hope. Hope is what keeps us going. It's what keeps me going. So that's really important. So whatever gives you hope is a really good first step. When I'm in that situation, what can I do? Since I can't change the situation, what can I do to improve myself? To take my mind out of that murk and mire. Wringing my hands and worrying just ages me, as I have learned. I'm learning to do something productive. Sometimes it's learning something new, picking up a book, watching a movie. One of my favorite things is jigsaw puzzles, and I like really big ones with lots and lots of pieces. I can spend hours sitting at a table with a jigsaw puzzle, and it just calms me. It gives me something to focus on, which is something that they teach you when you're learning about how to deal with an anxiety attack. You need to focus on something. They'll tell you to count backwards, because when you're in that super anxious state, it's very hard to focus. So if you can count backwards, you really have to focus on that, and it takes your focus off of the anxiety which is consuming you. Another thing, there is nothing in this world that can make you feel better like helping someone else. Because even in the depths of despair, at some level you're aware that you're still so much more fortunate than so many people. I mean, probably 70% of the world, just by an accident of where we were born. Gratitude is something that I'm learning to practice as well. Gratitude, again, it helps to shift the focus. It helps you to take stock of what you do have. Okay, so you're depressed and you have this problem. All right, but you also have abundance just by virtue of the country you were born into. That is something to be so thankful for, and I wanted to mention that just because we had Independence Day this week, and it's kind of fresh in my mind. The next thing I thought we would talk about is man down. Yes, my hubby, being the sweet man that he is, surprised me with a gift certificate to Sephora this week. But my excitement has turned to pretty severe annoyance, actually. Helps if you open up the lid. We don't have a Sephora in the area where we live. So he went to JCPenney's and he picked up a gift card at the JCPenney Sephora. For those of us that don't have an actual Sephora and we are stuck with a JCPenney Sephora, there are a lot of rules that apply at the JCPenney Sephora that do not apply at the regular Sephora. First of all, the JCPenney Sephora card is only good at JCPenney. You cannot use it at Sephora. I cannot go online to Sephora.com and use my JCPenney Sephora card. So I'm pretty ticked off about that, because the next thing I found out is that when you make a purchase through the JCPenney Sephora, you don't get reward points for Sephora. You get reward points for JCPenney. I don't want JCPenney rewards. I want Sephora reward points. So I was not happy about that. After going over and over the website to decide what I wanted to get, I finally picked something, only to find out that shipping costs $8.95. At Sephora, you pay shipping under, it's either $45 or $50. At JCPenney, you pay shipping under $100. I am pretty darn annoyed. But they also offer free pickup, so I thought, okay, I'll just go pick it up. The palette that I chose isn't in stock in my store. So I don't want to pay $9 to ship this very small palette, 4 shades in it, to my house. That's my Sephora story. I've since found out that I can order the palette in the store and the shipping to my home will be free. So now I'm happier. I will never purchase anything from the Sephora and JCPenney going forward, unless it were some kind of a makeup emergency. I love makeup. I enjoy wearing makeup, but I go out all the time without makeup on. That doesn't put the fear of God into me or anything. I cannot think of a possible situation in which I would feel the need to go against this edict. If I'm going to spend money at Sephora, I'm going to buy online. We don't have a Sephora nearby, and maybe someday when we're on vacation or something, I will will be in the vicinity of a real Sephora, in which case I will go and possibly enjoy it. In the meantime, I will buy everything online because I want those reward points at Sephora. I'm just a beauty insider at Sephora. I am not Rouge or VIB. That means when they do their big sale in the spring, and last year they did one in the fall too. Top tier gets 20% off, and then the next one 15% off, and then the beauty insiders get 10% off. They carry higher end products for the most part. Ulta's really giving them a run for their money for sure. They've added on some products that are awesome. Sephora generally has higher priced items. They carry Drunk Elephant. They carry, you know what? I don't even know. They carry Pat McGrath. Of course, my brain is just like, what? I can't think of anything else right now. Drunk Elephant, Pat McGrath, Hourglass, Natasha Denona. Some names for you. Charlotte Tilbury. Anyway, they're expensive. Generally speaking, I can't afford that. I'm a budget girl. I own it. I live it. It's fine. Do I want to try Sephora products? Yes. Maybe someday I will be independently wealthy. That day is not today. If I am spending money at Sephora, I need to get those reward points so that I can maybe get up to that next level where I could maybe afford some things with the 20% off, even 15% off. But 10% is just not going to do it. You've got an $80 product, $8 off isn't enough of a difference. $16 off to bigger help. So anyway, that is my Sephora story, and I just thought I would pass that on as I'm learning things about the world of beauty. I thought I would share. I was debating whether to even mention this or not. It's kind of eating at me because it's summer. Everybody's wearing their sun hats and they're wearing their long sleeve tees and they're slathering themselves with sunblock, and I'm down with all that. I believe in sunblock. I wear tons of sunblock. I wear it every day. However, I must admit, I am spending a lot of time in the sun, and I know that's a huge no-no in the beauty community for a variety of very good reasons. When the sun touches your skin, your body makes vitamin D as in delta, and vitamin D is really important to your overall health. Vitamin D deficiency is linked to a lot of really bad things: bone loss, muscle pain, bone pain, back pain, cardiovascular disease, cancer, asthma in children, hypertension, diabetes, type 1 and type 2, and multiple sclerosis. I think that's all I had on my list. I did a little research. I will put the links to the site in the description box below. One is WebMD, the other is Healthline. Healthline, I'm not completely sure about how medically sound it is. WebMD, I'm absolutely certain about. In my younger days, I had a tendency to be a hypochondriac. Just a little. I would research things to death. This is after the advent of the internet. My doctor told me I was not to be looking these things up. But if I absolutely felt compelled to look something up, I was only allowed to use WebMD because he said at least I would be getting sound medical knowledge. I do still research things because I just have an innate curiosity about things that are happening to me. But I always now think of Jeff Foxworthy.
I love watching like Dateline 2020, those shows. But you know how every week they will feature a disease. And I swear to you, every week, no matter what the disease is, my wife has it. There'll be 3 people on the planet that have this disease. My wife is one of them. She just watches it going, I've got it. I have every one of those symptoms. I'm like, you do not have testicular cancer. You don't even have testiculars.
Some of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency are muscle pain, bone pain, hair loss. Hold on a second, gotta bring my notes up because my brain isn't cooperating. Come on. My computer is also not cooperating. It's just so slow right now, and I need an external hard drive. It's on the list of the many things that we quote unquote need. Okay, some of the symptoms. I'm gonna just read this. Getting sick or infected often. Fatigue and tiredness. And I'm not talking about, oh, I worked hard all day, I'm tired. No, I am talking about intense fatigue fatigue where you cannot drag your butt across the room. Ladies, this is the kind of fatigue that you may have felt in the first trimester of a pregnancy. I experienced that with my first child. I didn't have it with the others, but I understand that it's very common, so some of you may be able to relate to that. Oh, just dog tired. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, bone and back pain, depression. You don't normally have clinical depression and you're experiencing a depression that you can't shake. Get a blood test. It's a real simple test. Impaired wound healing. Now that is something that I experience from diabetes, because this is also connected to diabetes that may all be kind of wrapped up into one, I don't know. Bone loss, I mentioned hair loss, and muscle pain. I was pretty shocked when I found out that, I wasn't just a little deficient, I had almost none. There are some reasons that you might be a D deficient. If you're a strict vegan, most of the vitamin D in food is in animal-based products, fish oil, egg yolks, beef liver, if you go there. I do not go there. The last time I had beef liver was when I was living at my mom and dad's house and they were making us eat it, because when I was growing up, it was well known that liver was good for you. Ugh. I'll find another way to get what's good for me. I'm not eating that stuff ever again. Where was I going with that? Oh, yes, if you're vegan. Fortified milk, all animal-based products. So that can lead you to a D deficiency. If your exposure to sunlight is limited, it says you may be at risk of deficiency if you are homebound, live in northern latitudes, wear long robes or head coverings for religious reasons, or have an occupation that prevents sun exposure. I do know that in the Middle East, in countries where women wear the full head covering, the full burqa, they do have horrendous levels of major bone loss. You see these women that they're like 35, 40 years old and they look like they're 90. They're bent over, their backs are bent. That is a vitamin D deficiency. If you have dark skin, the pigment melanin reduces the skin's ability to make vitamin D in response to sunlight exposures. Some studies show that older adults with darker skin are at a higher risk of vitamin D deficiency. There are some other reasons. Being obese really ups your risk. Being elderly, as you get older, your body has more and more trouble building the vitamin D. And some other things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but as I said, I'll put the links in the description box. Each person has to decide for themselves what's most important. Where are you going to get your most return on investment? Going outside and in a bathing suit, laying on a chair for 20 minutes, allowing the maximum amount of skin to be exposed to the sun for 20 minutes is absolutely worth it. And then I run off into the shade and I slather myself with SPF 50. And I wear it every day as well on my face and my neck. I am well aware of the risks. I keep an eye on things for skin cancer. I understand that I'm going to have a certain amount of aging from that. Being a person that struggles with depression, if there is anything that can help, I'll do it. And if 20 minutes of unprotected sun exposure helps my mood, I'm in, because there's no amount of wrinkles that would bother me if I wasn't depressed. And the sun really boosts my mood. I think pretty much anybody that deals with depression probably deals with at least an element of what they call SAD, seasonal affect depression, and that is, in our hemisphere, we don't get as much sun in the winter. That's just the way it is. And people can be more depressed in the winter. And I definitely have that issue. As soon as it gets warm and I can head out to the back porch, I'm there. If we go through a week where we have a lot of rain or a lot of overcast skies, I feel it very deeply. Each person has to make that decision on their own. I just felt like I had to come clean because I feel like I'm being naughty every time I go outside without my sunblock on, and I felt that I just needed to tell you that. One more thing. During this season of heading outside with no sunblock on for 20 minutes, I don't use my retinol. I will use it probably starting in September, and I'll use it all winter and spring, but when I get to the point where I'm heading outside to commune with the sun, I don't wear the retinol. I've got terribly sensitive skin, as you know. I have rosacea. I don't want to make it worse. I forgo my aging remedy over the summer. I don't know why I absolutely felt the need to tell you this, but I did, and it's because I cannot tell a lie. I know some of this was kind of heavy today, kind of intense, and I apologize for that. No, I don't apologize for that. It's important that people with depression speak up. It's important for us to tell our stories because there are a lot of us out there. Thanks for coming along today. Thanks for listening. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. I'm sure gonna try. I'll see you here next week. Life is very precious. Believe me, to me, it is very precious. Don't miss a second of it. Go out and live your beautiful life.